All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving deep into one of the most complex and frankly one of the most brutal theaters of war there is, the city. From ancient sieges all the way to modern insurgencies, the fight for urban centers has literally shaped the course of military history.
So, what is it about a city that makes it the ultimate battlefield? Well, unlike an open field, it's this three-dimensional maze of concrete, steel, and glass. It's packed with civilians, and it's layered with incredibly complex infrastructure. It's an environment that poses a completely unique and really formidable challenge for any army.
And yeah, you can imagine, fighting in these two places, it's like night and day. An open field gives you clear lines of sight, lots of room for big maneuvers. But in a city, forget about it. Visibility is awful, spaces are tight, and civilians are everywhere. These huge differences have fueled a deadly, centuries-long arms race between attackers and defenders.
Okay, so let's rewind the clock. Way back. In the ancient world, the entire problem of fighting in a city could pretty much be boiled down to one single, massive, physical obstacle.
Yep, the city wall. And we are not talking about some garden fence here. These were incredible feats of engineering, huge ramparts of stone and earth built to repel any direct assault and to protect a city's power, its wealth, and its people. For any invading army, this was the problem to solve.
So how do you beat that? Well, attackers developed a pretty sophisticated, and let's be honest, brutal playbook, the siege. It was a whole process. First, you'd blockade the city, cut off all the food and water, and just try to starve them out. Then you'd start bombarding the walls with things like catapults. And finally, if you got them weak enough, you'd launch the all-out assault with battering rams and siege towers.
And for centuries, that was pretty much the game, wall versus siege engine. But then a single invention showed up and just flipped the whole chessboard over. I am, of course, talking about gunpowder. The moment artillery shows up on the battlefield, the entire calculus of siege warfare is changed forever.
And the effect was immediate. And frankly, devastating. Those incredible stone walls that had kept cities safe for millennia, suddenly they were just targets. Cannons could just sit back and systematically tear them down from a distance, making those ancient defenses almost totally useless.
But you know how it goes. Defense always adapts. This led to incredible new architectural designs like the Bastion Fort. You might know them as star forts. They were designed with these sharp, angled walls to deflect cannonballs, and towers that jutted out to give defenders overlapping fields of fire. The arms race was back on, just with way deadlier toys.
All right, so the next huge leap forward in urban warfare. It wasn't about one new weapon. It was about a revolution that completely reshaped society itself and changed the very scale of the conflict.
You got it, the Industrial Revolution. All of a sudden, people are flooding into cities which just explode in size. And these huge, dense hubs become more strategically important than ever before, but also way more fragile.
So now you take that insane population density, you add in massive conscripted armies, and you throw in new toys like the machine gun, and cities transform into these potential death traps. This is where we get the absolutely brutal concept of attrition warfare, the strategy of just grinding the enemy down with overwhelming force, no matter the human cost.
And in the middle of the 20th century, this horrifying new scale of city fighting, well, it reached its absolute, terrifying peak. I'm talking about the Battle of Stalingrad, of course. It's really the poster child for this new reality, and this quote just nails it. The German army flattened the city, but in doing so, they accidentally created the perfect fortress for the Soviet defenders. The rubble itself became a weapon, a maze of cover and concealment. And just look at this. It shows you how completely this shattered traditional military thinking. The key fighting unit wasn't some huge division anymore, it was a tiny squad, or maybe even a single sniper. A front line, it wasn't this clear thing on a map. No, it was a 360-degree nightmare. It was everywhere. And the terrain wasn't just something to get across, it became the defender's primary weapon and shield.
Okay, so that brings us all the way up to our modern era, where the game has changed yet again, and maybe become more complicated than it's ever been.
And it all boils down to this one question. How do you fight an enemy you literally can't see? Because today's conventional armies are so powerful, irregular forces and other groups had to adapt. And their main strategy? It's just to melt right into the city itself.
And for these groups, the modern city is a goldmine of advantages. Think about it. You get anonymity in the crowds, you can use existing infrastructure for your own logistics, you've got endless cover from buildings, plus any attack in a city is guaranteed to get global media attention and hit symbolic targets. The city is the weapon now. So this new kind of battlefield, it's all about guerrilla tactics, information warfare, and of course the signature weapon of the modern insurgency, the IED. These homemade bombs are so dangerous because they use the city's own infrastructure against itself for concealment, and they completely blur the line between who's a combatant and who's a civilian.
And that really gets to the heart of the modern problem, doesn't it? The goal isn't to knock down the city walls anymore. The target is the city's population. It's a battle for hearts and minds, for control of the narrative, and for influence over the people who actually live there.
So after this long, bloody evolution, we're left with one final and pretty unsettling question. Our cities are getting smarter and more technologically connected every single day. So what does the next evolution of urban warfare even look like? That's something we're all going to have to think about.